The Democrats are projected to keep their majority in the Senate after picking up key victories in Arizona and Nevada over the weekend.
This is a very happy day. The roots of democracy are deep and strong and real with the American people, as this election showed.
This morning, both parties are assessing the fallout of a potentially divided Congress, and we'll tell you how the outcome of the upcoming Senate runoff election in Georgia could still be important. On the world stage, President Biden is taking part in several high-profile meetings this morning in Bali ahead of the official start of the G20 summit tomorrow. We'll bring you the latest developments from Indonesia, including what happened at Biden's face-to-face meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. High-cost holiday. We all know that flying for Thanksgiving will put a dent in your wallet, but that turkey on your table may cost an arm and a leg, too. We'll tell you what's driving up the price of the Thanksgiving staple and how you might be able to save some money this year. And it's that Monday feeling. Waking up after the weekend is never easy. We've got to look at what might be causing you to feel so groggy at the start of your work week and how you can avoid those Monday blues. Something, as you might have just read on your screen there, called social jet lag.
It doesn't seem like a mystery.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
Recap your weekend. Yeah. It all makes sense now.
It's all too much for me to handle right now. I'm feeling it a little bit this morning. We begin, though, with those major developments in the midterm elections. Democrats now retaining control of the Senate after projected wins in two key races over the weekend.
The first one came Friday night in Arizona, with Democratic Senator Mark Kelly projected to win re-election in that closely contested race against Blake Masters. And then late Saturday night, Nevada sealed the deal for Democrats, with Senator Catherine Cortez Masto projected to win re-election there.
The victory is for Nevada and all of us, all of the hard work that we put into it. This election, Nevadans rejected the far-right politicians working to divide us.
Cortez Masto's win now gives Democrats enough seats to retain control of the Senate no matter what happens in Georgia's runoff election. Now, in that state, Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock and his Republican challenger Herschel Walker will face off again December 6th. That's because neither candidate cleared the 50% threshold last week. As for who's going to control the House, that is still up in the air this morning, as votes in several critical House races are still being counted, leaving control too close to call. We're covering all the angles this morning. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson's in Georgia with the latest there. We're going to get to her in a moment, but let's start off with NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale. Ali, good morning to you. So history, we know, was against the Democrats. Past midterm elections show the party in power almost always loses seats. Now they've retained control of the Senate. And here's something almost no one predicted. The Senate was called before the House was called. It's still unclear if Republicans are going to flip the House. Even if the GOP does get control, it's likely going to be a slim majority. How did Democrats defy this historic trend?
Look, this was a shock to, I think, a lot of people, especially the fact that the House is still outstanding, that the Senate was called, and that Democrats could end up not just in the 50-50 razor-thin majority that they have had over the course of the last 2 years, but that they could, if they win in Georgia, pick up that 51st seat, which is important for a myriad number of reasons that we'll get into. But look, Democrats say that their messaging.
Breaking news right now, President Biden holding a news conference in Indonesia.
Yeah, he's there for the G20 summit, but we may also expect that he could be asked about the midterm election results. Let's listen in.
Strong rejection of election deniers at every level, from those seeking to lead our states and those seeking to serve in Congress, and also those seeking to oversee the elections. And there was a strong rejection of political violence and voter intimidation. There was an emphatic statement that in America, the will of the people prevails. I've traveled this week, and it's been clear just how closely the world and our allies and our competitors as well have been following our elections at home. Excuse me, I have a little cold. And what these elections showed is that there's a deep and unwavering commitment in America to preserving and protecting and defending democracy. Now, let me speak briefly about our agenda over the past few days in Egypt and in Cambodia and here in Indonesia. In this moment of great global challenges, from global inflation to the climate crisis to Russia's brutal war against Ukraine, we're bringing together the broadest possible coalition of partners to deliver results. At COP27 in Egypt, I made it clear that thanks to the bold agenda of our administration, we pursued from day one to tackle the climate crisis and advance energy and security at home and around the world. The United States will meet our emissions targets under the Paris Agreement. And we're going to keep working with our partners to support the most vulnerable countries in building resilience to climate impacts and to align global ambition with the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal, while supercharging our clean energy transition. At the U.S.-ASEAN Summit and East Asia Summit, I laid out a commitment to working with our partners in the Indo-Pacific to ensure a future that's vital to this region, that's free and open and prosperous as well as secure. And I met with our allies from Australia, Japan, and the Republic of Korea, underscoring our commitment and deepening our engagement with our closest partners and strengthening cooperation among our allies to meet shared threats to our own security and to their security, including the DPRK. And let me meet, I just met in person with Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. We had, we had an open and candid conversation about our intentions and our priorities. It was clear, he was clear and I was clear, that we'll defend American interests and values, promote universal human rights, and stand up for the international order and work in lockstep with our allies and partners. We're going to compete vigorously, but I'm not looking for conflict. I'm looking to manage this competition responsibly. And I want to make sure that every country abides by the international rules of the road. And we discussed that. The One China policy, our One China policy has not changed, We oppose unilateral change in the status quo by either side, and we're committed to maintaining the peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. It was also clear that China and the United States should be able to work together where we can to solve global challenges that require every nation to do its part. We discussed Russia's aggression against Ukraine, reaffirmed our shared belief in the threat or the use of nuclear weapons is totally unacceptable, and I asked that Secretary Blinken travel to China to follow up on our discussions and continue keeping the lines of communication open between our two countries. Looking ahead at the G20 meetings tomorrow, we're going to be taking on the very issues that matter to the people's lives, not only here, but also our allies and our partners. That means tackling the suffering that Russian aggression has unleashed, not just in Ukraine people, but the people around the world, particularly food insecurity, and strengthening the fundamentals of our global economy for everyone. Support for debt relief, reforms for multilateral development banks, investments to bolster global health security, and to make sure the world is better prepared for the next pandemic. The G20 has been an important forum for the world's largest economies to work together for the good of people everywhere. And I'm looking forward to our meetings tomorrow. Now, let me close with this. On my first trip overseas last year, I said that America was back. Back at home, back at the table, and back to leading the world. In the year and a half that's followed, we've shown exactly what that means. America is keeping its commitments. America is investing in our strength at home. America is working alongside our allies and partners to deliver real, meaningful progress around the world. And at this critical moment, no nation is better positioned to help build the future we want than the United States of America. Now, I'm happy to take questions, and I'm told there are going to be 4 questioners, but I'm not going to do 10 questions from each questioner. All right? Let's make that clear at the outset here. And Ken Thomas, Wall Street Journal.
You said at the outset of this meeting that you did not want competition to turn into conflict. Based on this meeting today, do you believe a new Cold War with China can be avoided? And specifically on the issue of Taiwan, you spoke about intentions. Do you believe China is intending to invade Taiwan at some point? And what warnings did you issue to President Xi if he were to take such action?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, I absolutely believe there need not be a new Cold War. I've met many times with Xi Jinping, and we were candid and clear with one another across the board. And I do not think there's any imminent attempt on the part of China to invade Taiwan. And I made it clear that our policy on Taiwan has not changed at all. It's the same exact position we've had. I made it clear that we want to see cross-strait issues peacefully resolved, and so it never has to come to that. And I'm convinced that that he understood exactly what I was saying. I understood what he was saying. And look, I think the United States is better prepared than any country in the world, economically and politically, to deal with the changing circumstances around the world. And I think that I think Xi Jinping is. We agreed that we would set up a set of circumstances where, on issues that we had to further resolve details, we agreed that we would have our chief of staff, the appropriate cabinet members and others sit and meet with one another to discuss the details of every issue that was raised, and we raised a lot of issues. Sung Kim, Associated Press.
Mr. President, you met with President Xi, and you met with him face-to-face after he had unquestionably consolidated his power at home. So now that you've met with him face-to-face, how do you assess his sort of posture towards the United States now? And did you find him personally to be more confrontational or more conciliatory and willing to compromise?
Neither and yes. Yes, I didn't find him more confrontational or more conciliatory. I found him the way he's always been, direct and straightforward. And do I think he's willing to compromise on various issues? Yes. I think he understands that. Look, I think, how can I say this tactfully? I think the election held in the United States, which still leaves a little bit uncertain, has sent a very strong message around the world that the United States is ready to play. The United States is, the Republicans who survived, along with the Democrats, are of the view that we're going to stay fully engaged in the world and that we, in fact, know what we're about. And so I don't get any sense that there's more or less confrontation. We were very blunt with one another about places where we disagreed or where we were uncertain of each other's position, and we agreed we'd set up, and we did, mechanisms whereby we would meet in detail with the key people in each of our administrations to discuss how we could resolve them, or how, if they weren't resolved, on what basis were they not resolved. Sebastian Smith, the AFP.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's extremely close. Excuse me, I don't usually talk that loudly. Does the retaking of Kherson in Ukraine signal a turning point in the war, in your opinion? That the Ukrainians could realistically pursue their ultimate goal of expelling the Russians completely, including retaking Crimea? If so, does the US intend to support and facilitate that goal, as you've been doing so far with their other goals? Or would you perhaps see Kherson as a different kind of inflection point, basically a good time to start negotiating now that they've got some more strength than they had a few weeks ago?
First of all, it was a significant victory for Ukraine. Significant victory. And I can do nothing but applaud the courage, determination, and capacity of the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian military. I mean, they have really been amazing. And I think it's hard to tell at this point exactly what it means in terms of, but I've been very clear that we're going to continue to provide the capability for the Ukrainian people to defend themselves, and we are not going to engage in any negotiation. There's nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. It's a decision Ukraine has to make. I think you're going to see things slow down a bit because of the winter months and the inability to move as easily around the country. But I think it remains to be seen exactly what the outcome will be, except that I'm confident that Russia will not occupy or defend Ukraine as they intended from the beginning. I have trouble reading this. Reuters, Natanja Bose.
President, quick question on North Korea, which appears poised to conduct a new nuclear test. I'm wondering if you can talk about your specific discussions with President Xi on that. To what extent do you think China has the ability to talk North Korea out of conducting such tests? And what are the repercussions for U.S.-Chinese relations if a test goes forward?
Well, first of all, it's difficult to say that I am certain that China can control North Korea, number one. Number two, I've made it clear to President Xi Jinping that I thought they had an obligation to attempt to make it clear to North Korea that they should not engage in long-range nuclear tests. And I made it clear as well that if they did, they, meaning North Korea, that we would have to take certain actions that would be more defensive on our behalf, and it would not be directed against North Korea. It would not be directed against China, but it would be to send a clear message to North Korea. We are going to defend our allies as well as American soil and American capacity. And so, but I do not think that it's difficult to determine whether or not China has the capacity. I'm confident China is not looking for North Korea to engage in further escalatory means, because I made it clear, and I made it clear from the very beginning and last year as well, that we will do what it needs to defend our capacity, to defend ourselves and our allies, South Korea as well as Japan, and that we'd be more up in the face of China, but it wouldn't be because of China. It'd be because of what was going on in North Korea. So, again, on a number of these issues, we have put together teams where our National Security Advisor, Secretary of Defense, and others are going to be engaging with their counterparts from China to see, and we're not going to be able to work everything out. I'm not suggesting this is kumbaya, everybody is going to go away with everything in agreement. But I do not believe there's a need for concern of as one of you raised the legitimate question, a new Cold War. And I think that I'll conclude by saying it this way. I want to be clear, and be clear with all leaders, but particularly with Xi Jinping, that I mean what I say and I say what I mean. So there's no misunderstanding. That's the biggest concern I have is a misunderstanding about intentions or actions on each of our parts. So we went into, I look at my team, how long did that meeting last? 3.5 hours. So we covered an awful lot of territory. And I must say that he was as straightforward as he has been with me in the past. And I think that we understand one another, which is the most important thing that can be done. I guess all of you are going swimming from here. It's not far. But
Mr. President, what should Americans expect from Congress as it relates to abortion rights after the midterms?
I don't think they can expect much of anything other than we're going to maintain our positions. I'm not going to get into more questions. I shouldn't even answer your question. No, I don't think that. I don't think there's enough votes to codify unless something happens unusual in the House. I think we're going to get very close in the House, but I think it's going to be very close, but I don't think we're going to make it.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Following a 3.5-hour meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, asked numerous questions about the relationship between China and the U.S., asked point blank, can a new Cold War with China be avoided? The president saying there need not be a new Cold War, did not think there was any imminent attempt also for China to invade Taiwan.
He also addressed the midterm elections here at home, in fact, starting out right on that point, saying that the U.S. is ready to play. He says that that's the message, that the outcome so far of the midterm elections here at home is having as he has these international conversations.
Also, we believe I heard our colleague Peter Alexander trying to shout out a question toward the end about abortion rights, and you heard the president say he didn't think they had enough votes to codify Roe versus Wade unless something unusual happens. Of course, we're still waiting on results for who's going to control the House of Representatives. Democrats will keep control of the Senate. Let's bring in White House correspondent Carol Lee, who's traveling with the president in Indonesia. Carol, mostly an international focus here. Any big headlines come out of this news conference with the president?
Yeah, there were a few big headlines. First of all, it was a very long meeting, as you noted, 3.5 hours, covered a lot of ground, according to the president. And the president announcing that the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, will be traveling to China to follow up on these conversations, which is significant because going into this meeting, the administration had set expectations pretty low, saying that this was just designed for each side to lay out their red lines, figure out where each other is coming from on all of the key issues, and hopefully be able to put the relationship on a better footing and create some sort of path for follow-up conversations. So that goal appears to have been achieved by the president on the various issues. The Taiwan issue, saying that the president does not see an imminent threat of an invasion by China on Taiwan. That was a key point. On North Korea, the president said he believes that China has influence there and that they should use their influence to get the North Koreans to stop their provocations with tests, potentially a nuclear test upcoming. And then just generally, as you noted, saying that the results in the midterm election, which are still not finalized, but so far have had a ricocheted effect around the world, that world leaders are paying attention to this. And he seemed emboldened, saying that this really underscores the fact that, in his view, America is back and is back to stay. So a number of topics here. And it's notable. I'd also like to point out the Chinese have issued their own statement on this, really stressing the importance of an open dialogue. So saying this essentially, this was a productive meeting, but on the Taiwan matter, really laying out a very sharp red line, saying that that is a red line that must not be crossed, and that stability and Taiwan independence are as irreconcilable as water and fire. So there you have it. There's obviously a bit of a disagreement there, some common ground, potentially at least enough to continue the conversations with senior Chinese and U.S. officials going forward.
Yeah, Carol, you mentioned the fact that Antony Blinken, he's asked him to travel there. The president also brought up multiple times that they set up these mechanisms, put measures in place where U.S. and Chinese counterparts would be able to be in more regular contact. He called President Xi direct, straightforward, and said he believes he's willing to compromise. Do you see significant changes to this relationship coming out of this meeting? Did this really make some ground here?
Well, that's what really, Savannah, remains to be seen. These are statements from each side coming out of this meeting. Certainly relations, and President Xi really underscored this in his remarks when they sat down to meet. Relations are at the lowest point that they've been in decades. And so there's nowhere to go but up, essentially. And what the administration hoped was that there would be some way for them to reach common ground on certain issues. It's not clear that that's going to happen. But certainly the takeaway from this is that there's a willingness of each side to continue to have discussions to try to avoid some sort of conflict. And the president this was a very important meeting for the president. He went into it feeling a bit emboldened, and he's coming out of it saying essentially that he achieved those low expectations that his administration had set heading in.
All right, White House correspondent Carol Lee, thank you so much. The president also saying that she was neither more confrontational nor more conciliatory than normal.
All right, we'll be right back with more Morning News Now. We're back now with new developments in that deadly shooting involving actor Alec Baldwin on the set of his movie Rust. Baldwin is now suing members of the film crew in an effort to, quote, clear his name. The cross complaint filed Friday blames 3 crew members and the man who supplied ammunition to the set for the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. For more, we're joined by NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos. Danny, good to have you with us on this one. So, okay, let's walk through this. I've already been texting you about it this morning, but let's just try to kind of make this as simple as possible. So this complaint was in response to a lawsuit originally brought against Baldwin last year. So was this to be expected that he would do something like this? And what exactly is he claiming here?
Absolutely. Baldwin had to file a cross-claim. A cross-claim is basically when you sue a number of different defendants. One of the defendants says, sue me? No. It was that defendant's responsibility, not mine. And to prove it, I'll sue them myself. That is the essence of a cross-claim. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a different vehicle called an impleader, where Baldwin sues people who maybe haven't even been named yet as defendants. But this is very common, and especially in a case like this, where you have responsibility spread out over several different defendants. Zero surprise here. It was a necessity for Baldwin's legal team.
So, Danny, as people probably remember, at issue here was this gun that had this live ammo that it should not have contained. There's been all these questions about how that even ended up on the set, never mind in the gun, never mind handed to Baldwin. Baldwin's also said he did not pull the trigger. With all that backdrop, is there still potential that he could end up facing charges?
Potentially, but when you think about it this way, you have a number of different defendants who may have each done something small that contributed to this tragedy, maybe forgetting he didn't pull the trigger. 51%.
Oh, Danny, unfortunately, I have many more questions for you on this one, but we're starting to lose you, your internet connection there. We'll try to get you back. Danny Savalas, thank you so much.
In Turkey this morning, officials are blaming Kurdish militants for yesterday's explosion at a busy shopping district in Istanbul. The blast killed 6 people and left dozens injured. NBC News foreign correspondent Megan Fitzgerald is with us now for more on this. Megan, good morning to you. First off, walk us through what happened yesterday and what we're learning about the victims.
Joe, good to be with you. You can just imagine a busy and bustling city in the heart of Turkey's largest city, Istanbul. We're talking about locals along with tourists that are shopping, walking around, enjoying a Sunday, when all of a sudden a bomb goes off. Right now, according to the Turkish Interior Minister, we know that 6 people have been killed, at least 6 people, 81 people injured. We're getting the breakdown of the numbers at this hour. We understand that a total of 5 people right now are fighting for their life in the ICU. 2 other people in critical condition at this hour, Joe.
So, Megan, as we mentioned, the Turkish government says Kurdish militants were behind the explosion. The state broadcaster also released footage of police arresting a suspect. So what are officials and authorities saying about the attack this morning? What's the latest on the investigation?
So, of course, this is still a very ongoing and active investigation, and we are at the beginning stages of it. But what we know at this hour is that a female suspect who's believed to have placed and detonated the bomb has been taken into custody. We understand that she's from Syria. We also know that about 21 other people have also been detained and are being questioned at this hour. Now, according to the Interior Minister, they believe that this all has ties to the Kurdish Workers' Party, which, by the way, has been deemed a terrorist organization. And the Interior Minister believes that the instructions to carry out this attack came from the northern part of Syria, in a city that's predominantly Kurdish. And so at this point, of course, this is still an ongoing and active investigation. But the Turks are saying, look, we will revenge. We will seek revenge, and it will be major. So obviously, this is something that we're going to be watching very closely.
I mean, several countries, including the U.S., have condemned the attack, but Turkey's Interior Ministry has actually criticized Washington. Tell us why that is.
So to give you some background here, this attack obviously shaking the entire community, the entire country for many reasons. Obviously, a bomb went off in the heart of Istanbul, and that's a devastating situation. But it also is reminiscent of what Turkey has seen just a couple of years ago, between 2015 and 2017, where bombs were detonated in the city, within the country. So a lot of people are on edge and concerned that they will continue to see this. And behind some of those attacks between 2015 and 2017 was the Kurdish Working Party. And so the reason why Turkey is not accepting the apology from the United States is because the U.S. has supported the Turks in Syria because of the Syrian conflict that's been happening. So there's a lot of frustration here. Of course, we did get that statement yesterday from the White House, where in part they're saying that they strongly condemn the acts of violence that took place in Istanbul. But again, this is something to watch because Turkey is saying that they will retaliate.
All right, Megan Fitzgerald, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Now, it's been more than a year since the war in Afghanistan came to an abrupt end. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel takes us back to the beginning with the untold story of the first major battle in America's longest war, from the CIA veteran who barely made it out alive.
Hey, buddy. It was just after the horrors of the 9/11 attacks. An elite group of CIA operatives called Team Alpha was dropped into Afghanistan. CIA officer and linguist David Tyson and CIA paramilitary Mike Spann had been sent to this fortress to interrogate roughly 400 foreign fighters taken captive by U.S. allies. Tyson is now talking about that secret mission on camera for the first time.
Was the thinking that someone might have information about the next 9/11?
Yes. And they all said, we gave bayat to bin Laden.
Bayat loyalty.
And we are al-Qaeda.
Hey, look at me. Do you know the people that you're here working with are terrorists? They've killed other Muslims.
That defiantly silent prisoner turned out to be a young Californian, John Walker Lind, later labeled the American Taliban. The prisoners should have been disarmed, but some managed to conceal their weapons, waiting to strike.
One of the guards runs towards me, and in Farsi says, Farar kun, flee. And then I hear Mike's voice. I go to Mike, and Mike's shot, and there's men on top of him, and they're trying to take Mike's rifle. And I shoot 4 of them, and I take Mike's rifle.
Shoot 4 of them?
Yes. And with Mike's rifle, I turn around and begin shooting the guys who are now charging me.
This is not a linguist anymore.
No. No.
Mike Spann dies fighting, the first combat casualty in the war. Tyson escapes to another part of the fort.
I just run across this field, and when I'm running across this field, I am certain that I'm going to be killed.
He stumbles upon a German TV crew.
There's a person uprising. Mortar rounds are coming at us. RPGs are coming at us.
Tyson commandeers the reporter's phone to call the CIA for reinforcements.
No, we do not control the fort. We control one end. I think it's the north end. There's hundreds of dead here, at least. I don't know how many Americans are.
Then Tyson leads a daring escape across an exposed roof.
We saw men get shot doing that same thing.
Tyson climbs over a parapet and down a 60-foot wall.
And then we do one by one. We fall down the wall, and we run out to the road. I use my empty rifle to stop a vehicle. And he says, don't shoot.
He is later recognized by the CIA for saving lives. The war in Afghanistan ends in chaos. Now, the Taliban are back in power and seeking revenge.
You'll see him get shot.
Tyson receives daily messages from former Afghan allies.
And it's just so distressing because they're forgotten.
He and other members of Team Alpha, including Spann's widow Shannon, have been working to help Afghan partners and their families escape the Taliban.
These are people who helped us, worked with us.
They see this new mission as a way to honor Spann's legacy. Richard Engel, NBC News.
Welcome back. If you're feeling extra groggy this Monday morning, well, we have an explanation. You could be experiencing something called social jet lag.
Yeah, that's a term from a recent study published in the medical journal JAMA Network Open, and it shows more than 46%, obviously that's almost half of American adults, experience some social jet lag. For more now, we're joined by NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Sayal. Always great to have you with us. Good morning. So just what is this? What does that mean, social jet lag? Is it like jet lag you get from traveling?
It's a great term, and good morning, guys. Social jet lag is really the easiest way to think about it. It's the difference between your sleep schedule in the weekdays and the weekends. Because on the weekends, you're free, right? It's more of your natural circadian rhythm. In the weekdays, with work and school and all these activities, you kind of are set to this sleep schedule that you may or may not want. Now, to calculate...
We love ours. Love it. Love it.
So to calculate your social jet lag, what are we talking about here? So I'll just give you an example. Most people sleep 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. on the weeknights. So if you take the midpoint of that, it's about 4 or 3 in the morning, about 4 hours in. But if you're on the weekends and you're out a little bit later, you stayed out late with friends, you're out from 2 and you sleep until 10, your midpoint becomes 6 a.m. So if you take that midpoint of 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., it's a 3-hour difference. It's a 3-hour social jet lag, as we say.
It's like going from LA to New York.
Yeah,
there you go.
there you
Every
go.
weekend. And this is
travel.
important because the study found there could have a major impact on your health, right?
Yeah, so social jet lag has been linked to things like depression and anxiety and feelings of overall unwell-being. But we know in large part speaking, having poor sleep cycles is linked to things like cardiovascular disease and even diabetes and being overweight. So there are definitely reasons that you want to get this under control.
Okay, so, whoa, scary. If we talk about getting this under control, like let's say for people like us on a schedule like ours, or anybody at home who's got sort of an unusual work schedule.
Let's just say we don't wake up at 4 a.m. on weekends.
Exactly. But,
and we're not gonna.
Right, and we're not going to. And like if you look forward to that weekend to be like, oh, that's when I recharge or whatever, but really we're hearing that this could be bad. What can be done? Can anything be done to try to regulate this a little bit?
No, it's an excellent point. And, you know, work obligations obviously are important here. So I'll share some things. You know, in general, you want to stick to sleep hygiene, which is during the week, try to get the full 8 hours, try to wind down early, try to, you know, avoid caffeine, avoid bright lights, stimulants, TVs in the room. Personally, for me, I just wanted to share, you know, the best thing that I did was a lot of phones have a sleep mode now. So if you turn on the sleep mode, it mutes all your notifications from that point on. So family chat on mute was actually like a godsend for me in terms of, you know, getting that required sleep.
Oh my gosh.
But the best the best thing here really, though, is to try to make sure that your sleep and wake times are the same all 7 days. I know for you guys and for many Americans out there, it's going to be hard, but it's worth doing, I think.
Okay. All right. So you're waking up weekends at 4 in the morning?
Sure, I'm not.
You can get
but
stuff done.
I will silence my family group chat.
There you go. That's good.
That's a good takeaway.
You're saying, doctor says.
Yeah.
Doctor says. All right.
All right, Dr. Akshay Sal, as always, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Anytime. We're back with some sticker shock for Americans planning their Thanksgiving meals.
Yeah, now looking forward to this one. The price of turkey and all their traditional sides has gone up this year, and it's not just inflation that's to blame. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa joins us from East Windsor, New Jersey, more importantly, among a lot of turkeys. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Hey, yes, it is a lively morning out here. One thing is for sure, there's simply less turkeys to go around this year, and that's because of an unusual avian flu outbreak across the country. The thing about avian flu, it's very contagious. So even if it's detected within one or a few birds, oftentimes farmers then have to cull or kill their entire flock. So that has put pressure on supply, and it's made a lot of people race to order the bird. Here at Lee Turkey Farm, for instance, folks filled all of the pre-order bookings back in October.
In Cape Elizabeth, Maine, the Alewives Brook Farm has been going strong for 65 years.
Can we go feed the turkeys?
But manager Caitlin Jordan says skyrocketing inflation and a recent drought mean they're now struggling to survive.
I mean, the cost of labor, cost of fuel, cost of grain and everything. Every bill is up this year. It's sickening sometimes to sit at the office because I just write checks.
Bird flu spreading rapidly across the country.
She's also terrified about a nationwide avian flu outbreak that's already impacted more than 50 million birds.
Come on, guys. Come on.
Caitlin's kept her flocks healthy with strict safety protocols.
Every day I'm grateful that we have dodged that bullet and we're still able to continue on.
But across the country, it means higher prices on your holiday table.
How is avian flu impacting the cost of the centerpiece of Thanksgiving?
The turkey flock is down around 10%, partially because of avian flu, partially because of supply chain problems, and also eggs. We have a lot less eggs this year.
At grocery stores, the price per pound of turkey was about $1.15 last year. In recent weeks, $1.99. And egg prices, a carton cost about $1.80 a year ago. Now, a jaw-dropping $3.40 or more.
What other foods jump out to you in terms of just really being hiked in price?
Any of the foods that are animal-based, like butter, like beef, but also this year, we've got a shortage of cranberries. They've had some major supply chain problems there.
So how to save? Experts say try less expensive frozen or canned veggies. Look for stores rolling back food prices to previous years and consider dining out. Restaurant prices have increased at a slower pace than groceries. But despite the sky-high costs, serving turkey on Thanksgiving is a non-negotiable for most households. A tradition the Al Wives Brook Farm is banking on to simply make ends meet.
We count on our turkey sales to carry us through the winter months.
High hopes in a high-cost holiday season.
We can't survive without the support of the public. There's just no way.
And doing their best to keep costs down for customers.
Now, there are some signs that relief could be on the way for turkey prices, with major retailers like Aldi and Walmart rolling back prices, and experts say that could put pressure on other companies to do something similar. But you think about it, for smaller businesses, it's harder to afford those kinds of cuts. So a lot of them, like here at Lee Turkey Farm, they're relying on the quality of the product to keep customers loyal. They're hoping that they see a big rush of people when they open things up for walk-in orders come next week. Guys, back to you.
Emily Aketa, thank you so much. Thanks for those tips.
I think they like her.
Yeah. Well, you've got lots of new friends this morning. All right, now, while some people are planning those Thanksgiving menus, others are finalizing their holiday travel plans.
Yeah. Oh, is it too late? That's the question. Here are some tips and tricks of Scott Keys, the founder and chief flight expert for Scott's Cheap Flights. He is Scott. Good to have you with us. All right, so Thanksgiving is now just 10 days away. Sorry to scare you by telling you that. Is it too late if you still need to find a deal to go home? What can you do about that?
It's getting too late.
Yeah.
Look, it's not impossible. It's not impossible at this point. I think folks know that the best time to have booked would have been a few months ago, and the second best time is now. The worst time is to really put it off until the last day, because while folks know that last-minute flights are expensive, what's important to remember is that last-minute flights aren't equally expensive. A flight booked one day before travel, almost certainly more expensive than a flight booked a week before travel. A flight booked a week before travel, almost certainly more expensive than a month before travel. So you want to try to give yourself as much time as possible.
Oh, that's good to know, because sometimes I am like, maybe at the very last minute they just want to get rid of the seat, but you're telling me it's better to wait.
Generally not. You know, this used to be true 50 years ago, not true today. Nowadays, the last-minute fares, rather than coming down in price, airlines actually jack them up in price because they realize, A, the people buying them are either desperate or they're business travelers who don't care what it costs because it's their company paying.
Right. Okay, also we know that there was all these other nightmares, like staffing shortages, flight delays caused by weather and those shortages, things like that. How's that impacting what we're going to see this holiday season?
This is something I've actually got good news on this front. Well, flight cancellations and disruptions really did kind of soar in late May and early June. It's gotten a lot better since then. You know, back then it was more than 1 in 4 flights were delayed, 3% of flights were canceled. Since then, it's gotten a lot better. The number of what are called blue sky cancellations, you know, the cancellations, even when the weather's fine, has gotten much, much better. Now, Thanksgiving, Christmas is going to be a real test. A lot of strain on the system then, but I think folks can come in with a generally, hopefully optimistic view in how the disruptions will go.
And you said bad news for Thanksgiving. How about Christmas? If you haven't booked your travel for Christmas, which is, I guess, 10 days and a month away, can you still find good deals?
You can. Actually, there are more good deals available for Christmas right now than for Thanksgiving. Checked, there are flights from New York City down to Nashville for $177 round trip over Christmas. Flights from LAX over to Hawaii for $317 over Christmas. But I'll tell you, for Thanksgiving, even though the number of deals are really sparse at this point, where the good deals are actually internationally, and here's why. Folks don't think of Thanksgiving as a cheap time to travel, but that's because everybody's traveling domestically where prices really surge. International, it is not a popular time of year to travel. I've checked. Thanksgiving is not a holiday in Spain, in Italy, in France. It's a holiday in the U.S. And so I checked just before coming on, flights from New York City to Wichita, Kansas, $612 round trip over Thanksgiving. Flights from New York City to Milan, nonstop, $489 over Thanksgiving. So if you haven't booked yet, even a week out, look to Italy, look to Europe. That's
I'm sure Wichita has great Italian food, but Milan is probably...
Nothing against the Midwest. I grew up there, but I would rather spend Thanksgiving in Italy, and I think a lot of folks would as well.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
That's a great tip.
All right. Scott Keys, thank you so much. Good to have you here in person.
Yeah, so happy to have you in studio with us.
Oh, we're back with my favorite person. A big honor and a big prize for Dolly Parton. The country singing legend received $100 million over the weekend as the newest recipient of the Courage and Civility Award by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his partner Lauren Sanchez. Bezos and Sanchez said the goal of the award is to highlight leaders who aim high, find solutions, and who always do it with civility. Of course, Parton is known for her charitable acts, including a $1 million donation to Vanderbilt University Medical Center for COVID research, which helped in the development of the Moderna coronavirus vaccine. In her acceptance speech, Parton said, quote, "When people are in a position to help, you should help. Money will be given to charities selected by Parton. No doubt she has many good ones in mind. So good to see that.
Absolutely. I know that's what a lot of people are wondering. What is she going to do with the $100 million? So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But very cool. Exactly. Thanks, Joe. All right. Finally, this hour, a special mission to give those who served a safe place to call home. MSNBC anchor Jose Diaz-Balart shows us one nonprofit's efforts to offer support to injured American veterans.
This special celebration marked a life-changing moment last month.
You ready? Yes, I'm so ready.
When retired Air Force Technical Sergeant Ramika Hopkins and her family pulled up to their brand new house in Lakeland, Florida. It was built with love by the nonprofit called Building Homes for Heroes.
Everybody, Air Force Technical Sergeant Ramika Hopkins.
Kim Valdyke is the director of construction and comes from a family with generations who've served.
What's it like to stand with someone who has given so much to us as a country?
It is a true honor for me to get to help the veterans and give them their homes.
This honor moving Ramika to tears.
Okay.
And then the big moment.
Thank you, guys. What do you think of your kitchen? Oh, yeah, I love it.
From the cabinets
I love that.
to the bathrooms.
I love how the bathroom is decorated. Oh, and I can pull up underneath the sink.
Even wider doorways, everything tailored to Ramika's needs. Because after fighting overseas, she's now dealing with a new battle.
I look fine, but cancer is ravaging my body.
In 2018, she was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia.
Ramaya, look at the washroom.
For her, this home is a chance to be closer to the crucial medical care she needs.
It's awesome. We don't have to worry about a mortgage, and we can sit in peace and make memories and make traditions.
Nice big windows.
Traditions her daughter Rumaya is already imagining.
Oh my God, it's gonna be a great Thanksgiving since we're in this home this year. Christmas, I can already see the tree in the hallway.
Ramika's home is one of more than 300 built or remodeled for wounded or sick warriors since 2006.
What's the best part about your new house?
That my kids get to have a home.
This family,
This is so pretty.
now forever linked to the heroes who helped them.
Welcome home. Thank you.
Our thanks to Jose Diaz-Balart for that story. Now, Building Homes for Heroes hopes to gift 343 homes by September of 2023 in honor of the 343 FDNY firefighters who died on 9/11. Their milestone goal is to build 400 homes by 2024. Amazing stuff.
Absolutely. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.